Less than 6 months out from the presidential election, and Joe Biden declares an urgent need to limit illegal immigration. Is it a genuine move to shore up national security, or a political ploy aimed at angry voters on the fence? Down at City Hall, high-profile pushback from Comptroller Chris Hollins, who says he can't give his blessing yet to a $1 billion labor settlement with long-suffering firefighters. And at the state's largest school district, the report card is in, and student achievement is up. Will the reported progress lower the heat on controversial Superintendent Mike Miles? I'm Greg Groogan, and welcome to What's Your Point, where our panelists call it like they see it. Let's greet them. Starting us off, Bob Price, Associate Editor of Breitbart, Texas. Next up, public safety advocate April Aguirre. In the 3 spot, longtime super neighborhood leader Tamaro Bell. Batting cleanup, Dr. Sergio Lira, President of Greater Houston LULAC. And closing us out, Marcus Davis, acclaimed restaurateur and host of Fish, Grits, and Politics. Let's begin.
We must face the simple truth. To protect America as a land that welcomes immigrants, we must first secure the border and secure it now.
Speaking about the immigration crisis with a sense of urgency glaringly absent during the previous 1,229 days of his presidency, Joe Biden issued executive orders aimed at slowing the flow of unlawful crossings, with as many as 10 million people having already entered the country during his term without invitation or documentation. The president says he's decided to act now because Republicans have rejected border security legislation offered earlier this year in Congress. Of course, it is lost on absolutely no one that Mr. Biden's initiative comes less than 6 months from the election and involves an unaddressed crisis, which polling tells us is currently costing him millions of votes.
Between now and Election Day, do I think the Biden administration is going to play some politics? Do I think they're going to try to decrease the numbers at the border a little bit so they can say, nah, the problem's solved? Probably. But I think their view is that the American voters are gullible. I don't think that's right. I don't think people are stupid.
Okay, panel, simple question. Is this too little and far too late? I address that to Bob Price.
Well, Greg, it simply is too little too late. The president said all along that he could not solve this problem with executive orders, despite the fact that he created the problem with a single stroke of a pen in January 20th, 2021, his first day in office, when he abolished all of the successful programs that President Donald Trump put in place. So now we've had increasing month after month after month throughout his term of office, and he thinks now that we can come back and say that limiting it to 2,500 per day is going to solve the problem. Well, when he was vice president under President Obama, his Secretary of Homeland Security at that time, Jay Johnson, said that 1,000 per day was an unsustainable crisis that overwhelmed the Border Patrol. Now we're going to do 2.5 times that much and call that some kind of a limit. He hasn't been below that number since his first month in office. And last month we had 118,000 cross the border, which was actually the 3rd lowest month in his tenure in office, but still would have been a crisis level under the definitions when Obama was president.
All right, Dr. Lira, you know, Republicans say do something, do something. The president does something, and now they want to find fault with it, maybe with justification. Your thoughts?
Yeah, no, of course. This stuff, you know, you got to stop the bleeding somewhere. You know, the President Biden is finally recognizing there is a crisis at the border, but damn if I do and damn if I don't. So he's actually trying to do something now that because he's literally, you know, forced to do something because of the Republicans did not want to pass his comprehensive immigration bill that would have provided 150 immigration judges to process the asylum seekers and perhaps deport a lot of them, I believe 1,000 more Border Patrol agents, and the most important part is spending millions on high-tech fentanyl detection to prevent death in this country, because those You know, remember that guy that was just recently convicted, that felon, that Presidente? Well, he went and browbeat those Republicans to back off and did not pass that immigration comprehensive bill. So therefore, now he has no other choice but at least to try to do something and stop the bleeding.
All right, Tamara Bell, you've been a hawk on the border.
Listen, what I said repeatedly, and people don't like that I said, had he left the policies that TRUMP put in place, we wouldn't be in this crisis. But he did the same thing that TRUMP did when he got in office. Anything that looked like, sound like, smelled like Obama, Trump got rid of it. So Biden did the same thing when he got in. The policy that they came about, if they really thought this was such a crisis, they would have passed something better than doing nothing. But they didn't. They made sure it failed. Now he is doing something, and they're like, okay, but your something is too late. When is it too late to not? If the damn house is burning down before you get to the bathroom, it's okay to turn the hose on then? Save something. So I think he should do something better than nothing, because this is political fodder and has been for decades and decades.
April, we talked about polling recently. 50% of Texas Latinos supporting a state law which made illegal immigration a state crime. And it's indicative of where Latinos in Texas are. Your thoughts here?
You know, my parents are migrants and migrated to this country from Mexico, and I can honestly say that what we're seeing today wasn't the border that we had 20 years ago. You had a lot of families coming through, and now you have a lot of military-age men, which is very dangerous for everybody. Here in Pasadena, Texas, last summer, we saw a little girl, Maria Gonzalez, murdered by an illegal alien from Guatemala. So here's a perfect example. Maria Gonzalez is an illegal alien from Guatemala, and her murderer was an illegal alien from Guatemala. You're getting everything through the door, and there needs to be a vetting process. And a reminder that she was 11 years old.
All right, Marcus Davis, by design, I saved you for last on this segment. You have been calling for stronger enforcement on the border for years now.
Yeah, I've been advocating for the president to do something different than what's being done right now, but I've also been advocating for us to stop this political hockey game that we've been engaged in. Yes, this is Joe Biden political theater at its finest, right? Will it curb some of the problem? Possibly. Is it too late? It's very, very late. But here's the problem. Neither side wants to solve immigration. That's why we have this. You got to look across the table, because the GOP also said, don't do anything to solve immigration until we get the election won by Donald Trump.
That's right.
This is evidence. Ted Cruz said, I don't think the American people are that gullible. Well, look at the parties that the American people are following. One party that passes immigration way too late, and the other party that says deny, deny, deny until we get power. Yep. This is a problem we have in our country.
I'm going to let Bob respond to that.
So my colleagues have said that the Republicans didn't take on the bill that was in the Senate. The Senate didn't pass that bill. The House actually passed a bill, and Chuck Schumer refused to even bring it to the Senate for a discussion about it. So
yeah, I thought the bill was trash.
I
thought the bill was trash.
Oh, it was.
Yeah, yeah.
It was worse than what the president's currently proposing. So we'll talk about it more in the next segment.
Real 20 seconds though. Progress, not perfection.
Absolutely. Yeah. No. Of course, there are some things they got to work on. You know, ACLU and National LULAC are looking at some challenges, because folks have the right to ask for asylum in between entry ports, and also at the entry ports and in between.
Hold that thought. Still to come, test results are trickling in, and student achievement appears to be up at the state's largest school district, Houston ISD. And in our Sunday survey, we're asking viewers, which is a more important mission for Superintendent Mike Miles, collaborating successfully with the community or improving student performance? Tell us what you think. Vote on our webpage, fox26houston.com. Just click on poll at the top of the page, or tell 26 using our news app. But up next, we continue our discussion of President Biden's election year border initiative and whether American voters will be buying what he's selling when it comes to immigration.
It's a little late, isn't it, Mr. President? It's a little late. You can't make this cat walk backwards.
Senator John Kennedy of Louisiana with a line I hadn't heard before regarding Joe Biden's 11th hour stab at limited border restrictions. Restrictions immigrant advocates are labeling a major betrayal by the president. Panel, Joe Biden catching hell from both sides. Is it warranted? Sergio, I got to ask you. I mean, there are folks that are, you just look at the press releases, betrayal is the common theme.
Yes, no, I just spoke with a representative of UCLA recently on this issue. He said we already have established immigration law that addresses asylum seekers. He said folks that come in at the port of entry and also in between the port of entries, you know, some folks say this wide open area, but it's not, you know, heavily patrolled and barbed wires everywhere. However, they have the right, once they step on land, to ask for asylum. That is going to be challenged by ACLU, and that's the position of National LULAC, and our council is supporting that.
April, I've been watching the coverage of this week, and a lady sitting in El Paso talking about how her family came here the right way. And when I say the right way, the legal way, without crossing the border uninvited. I guess the question becomes, is there growing resentment among first, second, third, fourth generation Latinos that people aren't doing it the right way?
No other country would allow this type of migration. Now, some migration would be good, right? It's good for every country, the growth and giving other people opportunities. But having people coming into this country not vetted at all is very dangerous, as we have seen here by some crimes committed, high-profile crimes here within the city of Houston.
All right, Bob, we hear a lot about the unvetted folks that are here and the potential national security threat. I mean, is that hyperbole? Is it real?
It's very real. Ask the citizens of New York City. The Venezuelan gangs that were dumped out of the prisons in Venezuela, brought up to through the Central American pathway into Mexico and up into the United States, and then bussed and shipped and by the hundreds of thousands into major cities across the country. There's a massive crime wave going on in New York City by Venezuelan gangs. And guess what? Crime in Venezuela is down. So, Sergio, you talked about the border not being wide open. You've obviously never been to the Laredo sector.
Yes, I have. I just recently came from there recently. No.
You've never been to the El Paso
It's probably
sector.
the most secure barbed wire, intense border I've ever seen.
Bob, finish your statement.
In the city of Eagle Pass, maybe, but there are 175 miles of no border wire whatsoever in the Laredo sector. Hundreds of miles in the El Paso sector. Hundreds of miles.
Are we the wealthiest country, the most technology advanced?
Because you don't like the facts.
Well, you're calling me out, so I have to respond to you.
The facts are the border is wide open, and so that's just the way it is. President Trump tried to secure the border. He built 700 miles of border wire. The Democrats fought him on every inch of that. And still today, it is wide open. We have millions of dollars. We're spending millions of dollars a month storing the steel that President Trump bought, that President Biden refuses to put onto the border.
Can I respond to that really quick?
Real quick.
10 million folks are the data that you play with numbers. 10 million folks are in this country since the Biden administration. How many have been deported back? Give me that number.
It's about 40%.
What is the percentage?
It's about 40%. He's deported a lot of people.
72% have been deported back. So all those 10 million, they're called encounters.
Okay,
let's not leave out that bill should be sent to Mexico like Trump promised. We wouldn't have that bill if Trump
We're going to fact check that one. All right. Up next, after a year filled with sound and parent fury aimed at Houston ISD, standardized test scores are in, and they appear headed in the right direction.
The overwhelming majority of our teachers and principals and students stepped up and engaged the process and came in with some of the highest scores that the district has ever seen, despite the changes.
Houston ISD state-appointed Superintendent Mike Miles offering proof of performance after a genuinely tumultuous year marred, some would say, by administrative purge, teacher exodus, controversial principal replacement, and parent protest. This week, Miles revealed high school STAR test results, which indicate substantial across-the-board gains in Algebra 1, Algebra 2, English 1, and English 2. Miles conceded that HISD remains behind the state average, but contends the significant improvement is proof the gap can be closed. Panel, one local publication suggested Miles has bought himself some breathing room with these scores, respite, so to speak, from the mob of critics calling for his removal. And as I said, You're probably at the head of the mob.
Congratulations, children, for doing a good job. I ain't giving him not one drop of credit, not one iota of credit. Because you see, these scores are not at just the NES schools that he's trying to make to send more NES money to Colorado, but these scores are being done by principals who he has fired since then because they were doing a great job and were against his NES. And if you don't do NES, you got to come up with your M-O-N-E-Y, because he won't give you any, so he can use that as an alibi. And don't y'all be sold on this, because you understand who hired him. The state of Texas hired him. This is the STAR test, which the state gives. Don't y'all be applauding him for this at all, because people need their jobs to feed their children, and they are terrified. He is not the solution. I'm telling you, he is not the solution. And don't you all stop. Parents, I'm proud of you all. Both of my children were educated at HISD, so I am proud of you all. You all do a good job. Some of you all don't, but most of you all care about the children. Don't y'all get up there and drink this Kool-Aid this man pouring.
Okay, before I go to a former classroom teacher, a PhD in education, and a mom, I'm going to go to Bob Price. I mean, look, proof of performance.
Well, and I'm a dad, and a grandfather, and the father of a school teacher. You're gonna be surprised, but I'm gonna disagree with you.
Oh God! Oh, God.
But the superintendent said that the progress was made despite the changes. I would say it was made because of the changes. This school district had been going into the toilet for years, and it turned around in one school year. One school year under new leadership. That's phenomenal, I think. Now, is there progress to be made in the future? Yeah, absolutely. Let's keep going. Let's do some things. Let's incorporate your ideas. Let's incorporate your ideas, his ideas, the state of Texas's ideas. HISD was failing, and now it's improving.
Okay, Marcus, you won't be surprised that 100% of our viewers say that student achievement should be the main mission, not collaboration with the community. Before you became an acclaimed restaurateur, you were a classroom teacher. Right. Thoughts here?
Well, to the point of the survey, I don't think that they should be mutually exclusive.
Exactly.
I think they should go hand in hand. I don't think you should separate the two. I think one includes and involves the other. But with that being said, to Tamara's point, congrats to the students for doing a great job. Congrats to the teachers for getting their students prepared to do a better job. I don't know that there's evidence that this is a result of Mike Miles.
Exactly.
Right? There's no proof in that. If there were proof in that, then why was the schools failing in Colorado? If there was proof in that, why does he have to funnel money from the Texas schools back up to the others? There's no evidence. Congrats to the teachers, to the students, and to the principals that did a great job. And I wish the best for the district. I have 3 children that are product of HISD.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to have to save this for overtime, but the important issue is, and we should note, that the scores for elementary school haven't come in yet, and that's going to be key. What's that?
Elementary and 8th grade. So preliminary results, these are just preliminary, not the total number of improvement. So actually, the district had a B+ before Miles came in.
Okay, we're going to hear from Seth Hill in April. In overtime. Okay, let me get up here to our T's. What do we got? When we come back, closing the deal on a multi-billion-dollar budget and a historic settlement with Houston firefighters. We're talking live with Mayor John Whitmire about the potentially heavy week ahead on the other side of this break.
Right, we all know that the high-level math on this is that this is upwards of $1 billion of financial impact for the city. And it's my responsibility to, at a baseline level, understand what's going on in it before putting it forward to you.
Houston Controller Chris Highlands insisting on more time to review terms of a negotiated labor settlement between the city of Houston and its long-suffering firefighters. I say long-suffering because, as we've consistently reported, these brave first responders have been serving without a contract for 8 brutal years. Enter Mayor John Whitmire, who almost immediately sat down at the table and hammered out a deal. $650 million for overdue back pay, 5 years of structured pay hikes and benefits moving forward to get HFD competitive with other departments and stop nearly a decade of destructive attrition. We are extremely pleased to have Whitmire with us this morning. Mayor?
Good morning, Greg.
All right. Firefighter deal is complete. A judge has signed off on it. I mean, it's a judgment. You could be bringing it to council this week. It is a good deal in the sense that the experts I've talked to have said that the exposure was north of $1 billion, which means that the firefighters are saying, look, we'll take less to get this behind us.
It's a sound deal. And thank you for allowing me to be here to talk about my favorite subject, public safety. Public safety means firefighters. The best thing we can do to get ready for hurricane season is to make certain that our first responders are prepared in their position, and we've got to have a strong fire department and a strong police department. I inherited 2 departments that have been neglected. Their firefighters are being paid with one-time federal funding. So we sat down at the table because I'm tired of paying lawyers. I'd rather pay firefighters. And we've worked out a very reasonable proposal. Most business groups in town suggested that it would take $800 million or $1 billion to do the settlement over the last 8 years. We did it with $650 million. Everyone knew it was going to be a high figure. You're catching up for 8 years of neglect, keeping folks at their benefit level that is not competitive. Let me tell you something. We need about 500 more firefighters. We were not attracting cadets because they did not have a contract, did not know what the terms were. We've seen an increase in cadet applications since this proposal was laid out. I spoke to a cadet class of 31 cadets 2 months ago. You can't sustain public safety. You can't have a safe city when you have ambulances going from downtown Houston to Clear Lake and to Kingwood. I watched the first responders, our firefighters, EMS, dealing with the Kingwood floods, endanger their lives. During the derecho 2 weeks ago, I saw firefighters dealing with live electric wiring on 290, rolling it up so traffic could go through, worried to death that they were going to hit a live wire. So everyone needs to come together. This is not a new proposal. It's been vetted at City Hall. The Finance Committee has had hearing after hearing. So it was going to be tagged last week anyway. It'll probably be tagged this week. Everyone's had ample time, and now it's the time to go to work. There's a time to campaign, there's a time to go to work. I'm a worker. I campaign on sitting down with the firefighters, and it's going to be successful. Going forward 5 years, which doesn't get enough attention. Yes, we were able to negotiate a fair proposal for taxpayers and the firefighters going forward for 5 years. So let's get the firefighters out of the courts, out of the press, and let them do their brave jobs.
Mayor, the proposed budget does not raise taxes, does not raise fees, and slows the growth of city spending from what I saw was 8% last year to 2%. Fair deal?
It's a fair deal, and when I laid it out, said we're not going to propose new fees or go above the revenue cap until I can look Houstonians in the face and say we have eliminated waste, duplication, and theft. There were 7 employees, some contractors, vendors, that were indicted 2 weeks ago because they're stealing. When I can go through each department, do a review and audit, looking for duplication, conflicts of interest, and cut out stealing, then I can, with a straight face, tell Houstonians, I've done everything I can. We've cut out the conflicts of interest. We're trying to expose the thieves that have been getting contracts and not doing any work. After I do that, then we can talk about new revenue.
Stay right where you are, Mayor. We've got the mayor for another segment. We'll see you when we come back.
I didn't come here to rubber stamp Sylvester Turner's programs. Some are better than others. I am being driven by data. We reviewed, after getting input from many, many residents about the Durham Shepherd, not only Heights residents, but it takes traffic out of Oak Forest, Garden Oaks, Acres Home, Aldine. You have to weigh all the factors. So we asked for a review. We compromised with the proponents from the TERS, who are not elected, I might emphasize, and we came out with what I think is going to be a very productive program.
Houston Mayor John Whitmire discussing the deal reached on the high-profile Shepherd-Durham mobility project. Mayor, you have expressed concerns over the unintended consequences of accepting federal dollars with strings attached.
The federal dollars were driving this project. The TERS have to comply with what the feds require in mobility, or lack of mobility in this instance. So I asked for a review. Let it be data-driven. We have commuters that depend on Durham and Shepherd. I represent them. The Heights residents that like the new amenities, I understand, it's pretty. But my responsibility is mobility, quality of life issues, and bringing everyone to the table. We will announce soon that we're not going to apply for federal funding and let them dictate the type programs that we will have. I understand, but in this, the deciding factor was we had the federal money. It was going to be used for water supply, wastewater treatment, and also improve the streets and bridges. So the balance, it was the right thing to do. But I want to bring everybody to the table. The TERS need to be listening to the residents, and I see that across the city. Management district and TERS, they get appointed, they get elected, chosen. Not elected, matter of fact, but they're chosen, and then they think they kind of control city assets. We're all in this together. City Hall needs to monitor the TERS. We're actually having good results, though, from most management and TERS wanting to cooperate. We're going to have a fire station built by a TERS. We're going to improve a library with a management district. So the collaboration that I'm demonstrating with the TERS management districts, the county commissioners, I have 3 commissioners that are working hand in hand with me on infrastructure. Ramsey said he'll pay for half of the cost of streets repair in his precinct. Briones is such a breath of fresh air, and Adrian Garcia is sharing his experience in getting things done. So I'm excited. You've got me fired up. I thought this would be a day off, but you got me in my Sunday school clothing. I'm gonna attend Sunday school, and then we're gonna go back and go to work.
All right, Mayor B, journalistic malpractice not to talk about your #1 issue when you ran for this office, which was public safety. And first rattle out of the box, you have to contend with a debacle not of your making, and probably the biggest scandal this century in Houston in terms of police. We had 250,000 or more unattended to investigations or criminal complaints. You're pushing forward 5, possibly 6 academies to try to repopulate the police department. Let's talk about public safety. We're about 2,000 officers short. We are, in this proposed budget, going to have an amendment to have a 6th class. But we've got to do something about it now. And that's where the collaboration with other agencies are coming into play. We're working with the county, Metro Police, constables. We're working with the DPS who are sharing resources. We need a helicopter in the air all the time. HPD's not been able to afford that, but that would cut down on these dangerous chases if we had DPS helicopters in the air. So yes, public safety continues to be my highest priority, including the fire proposal. You've got to have a strong fire department to have public safety. But we're working with the rank and file of HPD. We're making changes. Yes, the incident reports is unbelievable, quite frankly, but it's real. That for 10 years, we're not investigating incidents, violent offenses, sexual assaults, domestic violence, because we don't have the staffing. Hopefully Houstonians are listening. I know they are, because we're going to go back to Houstonians and ask for additional resources for our fire and police. Great cities are safe cities, and it's been neglected for the last 8 years, paying firefighters with one-time federal funding, letting the numbers of the police department continue. The response time for HPD is at an all-time high. The firefighters department, firefighting department, incident response time is on the increase. So we're going to do a better job. I want to say this, former police chief Troy Finner, great guy, wonderful public servant. You worked with him. You are now looking for a new police chief. What can you tell us about that? You're going to stay within the department? You're looking at all the candidates? I'm trying to find the very best person that will be a crime fighter, work with the communities, bring us together, get the rank and file morale improved. And the good news is I have the experience chairing criminal justice, that I've met a number of individuals across the state. So we're looking where we can to find that right person to improve the morale, get this controversy behind us, and go forward with public safety being the highest priority. Okay, I'm going to give you 30 seconds to make a public relations remark. How would you try to attract new HPD officers? You know, I spoke to a cadet class Thursday,
historically, the families of HPD officers was where you did most of your best recruiting. It hasn't happened in recent years because of the frustration. First of all, we've got to quit letting repeat violent offenders out of the courthouse. Police officers' morale improved after I got elected, but they're still frustrated that we can do better. They put their lives on the line and then see the same criminal back on the street. So I'm going to continue to speak on that, and a new police chief will address that issue too. We've got to hold the judges accountable. Some work hard, some don't work hard. We've got to get public safety on everyone's mind, hold the violent offenders accountable.
Mayor John Whitmire, thanks for joining us this morning. I hope you'll come back.
I'll be here.
Welcome back. The Watch Your Point crew, no doubt eager to offer commentary on our conversation with the mayor. Firefighter deal, city budget, public safety. Panel, take your pick. April, I'm going to go with you.
You know, Senator John Whitmire, now our mayor, and I'm so proud to say that, came in here and he ran on public safety, and that's what everybody cares about, because at the end of the day, how can you enjoy this great city if you don't feel safe? And Republicans and Democrats alike can agree with that.
All right, if there was a motto, I don't think Marcus Davis would adopt it, but it's called Show Me. What do you want the mayor to show you over the next couple of years?
Oh, the same thing that I've always been talking about. Houston is a city with a wealth of potential, has the opportunity to generate a great economy, has the opportunity to attract business, to do big business, to attract talent, and I'm hopeful that we'll see that over the next few years.
All right, Sergio Lira.
Public safety, number one. Recently, you know, there was a killing right off Griggs Road and I-45 during the day. My wife and I have been talking about moving out of the city. My daughter left the city prior to Senator Whitmire being elected mayor. They left because of all the gunshots and the noise. My wife and I are, you know, it's an issue of perception. You know, the numbers are there, but there are some hot spots. And I think some unannounced visits to some of these areas, implementing perhaps an extra cadet class as suggested by one of the councilmen, you know, getting rid of the waste at City Hall to fund extra police cadet classes, and also making sure that our city is safer, because a lot of folks are moving, unfortunately, some folks in some hot spots. There are some great spots, but there are some hot spots.
Okay, no one spends more time on this panel, maybe Marcus because he's in the business, but talking to people in the neighborhoods about what they want to see. You know, what's the ask from folks in the neighborhood to this mayor? Well, public safety is a big concern of us, and he knows that the former Chief Troy Fenner was beloved by the city of Houston because he is homegrown, he's from here, and he meant a lot to the city. So we're really watching who replaces him and what is selected and who's been selected for that position. Because even to this day, you know, people hear what they've been told, but as this investigation still is unfolding, because everybody doesn't know everything, you know, I'm sure that there's some documents that will come out that will make them question, was this the right thing to do, even though it has been done. So since it has been done, and by the way, finally, council members are getting together this Friday, and they're honoring Troy Fenner at the George R. Brown to thank him for his over 30 years service in public, because like Sergio said, this is a tough city to be an officer in. Anybody say it's not, try being one for one day. It is a very difficult challenge. So I appreciate the fact that we're going to be able to see who the mayor selects for the next person. Okay, we got to leave it there, and we'll hear from Bob in overtime. Up next, the president's son Hunter on trial during an election year and looking very guilty of a federal crime. But will it matter come November 5th? A week after the first American president, past or present, was convicted of a crime, the assault on the nation's sensibilities continued, with the first child of a president standing before a jury. I am, of course, speaking of the case against Hunter Biden, a self-admitted crack cocaine addict who broke the law by buying a firearm during a period of time prosecutors say he was still using. The Delaware trial, faithfully attended by his stepmother Jill Biden, has triggered widespread contempt at the defendant's depravity, which included coaxing the mother of his deceased brother's children into smoking crack as the two engaged in a short-lived romantic relationship. Panel, the question at hand is whether Hunter Biden lied on the standard federal form for purchasing a firearm, and the evidence strongly indicates he did. A larger issue is whether it will matter to voters. Bob, I'm going to get your thoughts on this.
This is a T-ball hit here, so thank you.
He's not running for president.
Unlike the Trump trial, where the prosecutors had to make up crimes to put together a smorgasbord of charges that jurors could choose from, this is a slam dunk case. He was on drugs. He lied on his ATF form when he bought the handgun. He wasn't allowed to have the handgun. And so it's a slam dunk case for prosecutors. All this other stuff that's coming in is superfluous stuff for drama, if you will, but he's going to be convicted. Now, what will happen to him? The average person that gets convicted of this crime gets 2 to 3 years in prison. He'll probably get probation, I would think, but he will be treated differently than the average person. Now, all of this said, this is a very under-prosecuted crime. Only about 7% of the people that lie on the ATF form actually get charges filed against them, and fewer of those that even get prosecuted.
April, I want to ask you this. Will this case matter in November? Should it matter?
You know, it may matter to voters, but more importantly, globally, we're kind of a laughing stock right now. We're doing a lot of political prosecution against people that we typically wouldn't do on a normal individual. So, like Bob said, most of these people that do lie on an ATF form rarely get prosecuted.
You want to talk about this one?
I just thought about it. Yes, I do want to talk about this one. Okay. When you sign a form, one of the things that you're supposed to be is your state of mind correct. Well, if you was high as a kite on crack, your state of mind wasn't right. You didn't know if you checked the no box, yes box, what it said, what it read, whatever. So, hell, I could be your lawyer, Hunter. Come give me a check, I get you out. Because you ain't know what you was filling out. So, there you go.
Does this hurt him?
Absolutely not, because he's not running for president. And secondly, in fact, it might even help, because, let me tell you why. We are a consumer nation of drugs. We have an insatiable appetite for drug addiction, and those families that have someone that, we all know someone that dealt with drug addiction in their family, that nightmare is unending. So therefore, folks are going to be sensitive to this, because the difference between him and the convicted felon ex-presidente is that this is one charge because of the loose laws allowing folks to buy purchase weapons, whereas this other one had 34. Very different case.
You kind of opened that up to Bob in overtime, I think. When we come back, a protest flag, a Supreme Court justice, and an explanation that's not standing up too well to journalistic scrutiny. And now we move to the other side of the political ledger with two noteworthy developments. First, you've probably all heard about the upside-down American flag seen flying outside of the home of Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito. The conservative jurist has claimed the protest symbol for the contested 2020 election was actually hoisted by his wife after a political dispute with a neighbor turned ugly. Turns out that may not be completely true, as evidence has emerged indicating the protest flag was flying weeks before that hostile encounter took place. Panel, also this week, former Trump White House advisor Steve Bannon was ordered to report to prison on July 1st to begin serving a 4-month sentence for defying a congressional subpoena. Take your pick, Marcus.
Listen, I'm going to pick the lie. Right? This is obvious, where the Supreme Court justice either was ignorant or he was just flat out telling a lie, and that's unfortunate. You know, I've talked a lot about the condition of this nation and the direction that we're heading in, and I know a lot of people think that I'm screaming, sky is falling, sky is falling, but the United States of America is on the road to disaster. We are in a position where the highest court in our land can't be trusted to tell the truth, or to have full knowledge of the truth he's trying to communicate. Not just him, we got Clarence Thomas and his wife and so on and so forth. Listen, what does an upside down flag even mean? Is it not anti-American? Is she not doing worse than Colin Kaepernick? And we're excusing this behavior? I don't know where we are.
An upside-down flag is an international signal of distress, and apparently the Supreme Court justice and his wife think our country is in distress. That said, as an American veteran, is that
patriotic?
As a flag nut from being a 7-year-old Cub Scout until now, I deeply resent anybody disgracing the American flag by using what's supposed to be. Now, if he's in distress, if his house is in distress, call 911. You don't have to fly your flag upside down. But judges at all levels are supposed to stay out of the political foray. They're not allowed to engage in the political debate. And there's a reason for that. And the justice, whether he knew the flag was there, whether he's married to a very strong woman, which I am, and I don't control what my wife does, and don't even try. She's allowed. She's not allowed. She does whatever she wants to do.
Careful, Bob.
So yeah, she's watching, so I'm in big trouble already.
Smart man.
So he needs to take responsibility for what's happening there. If he was involved in it, then he probably should recuse himself.
And let's go with the thing that he said at first. Even if that was true, what sense does that make?
Yeah.
You in an argument with your neighbor, so you decide to do this publicly?
And what is about Steve Bannon?
It's troubling. It's troubling. Up next, the battle to represent
we'll talk
Texas.
about Steve Bannon.
The battle to represent Texas in the U.S. Senate, and two very different views about Israel's war on Hamas and the path forward. On tonight's edition of Texas the Issue Is, airing at 9:45 right here on Fox 26, we're talking to the candidates to represent Texas in the United States Senate. Among our topics, the war between Israel and Hamas.
As for me, I strongly and unequivocally support Israel, and I believe the people of Texas do as well. Israel is in the right here. They are trying to kill terrorists who are trying to murder civilians.
And I certainly have had some concerns with the conduct of the war, and what I think we need to find now is a way towards an agreement to end this conflict and to find a pathway forward for Palestinians and for Israelis, where we have a peaceful and independent Palestinian state next to a peaceful Jewish and democratic state in Israel.
All right, guys, we've got some unfinished business here. What were we talking about that you guys wanted to talk about?
Oh, we were talking about the New York trial.
What we were talking about was the fact that a duly elected judge, a duly elected DA, and a rightly selected jury found Donald Trump guilty. And we should accept that and not try to play this game of, well, it was this and that and that. Okay, I get it. But had it been a Democrat, I don't think Bob would be making the same case about
lock
that.
Him up.
No,
lock him up.
Lock him up. But speaking of lock him up, yes, lock him up and Hunter Biden. Lock him up too.
Yeah, limited time here, rebuttal.
Okay, so the prosecutor, they brought in a Biden administration ADA to come in and resurrect a charge that the term had expired on.
Statute of limitations.
The judge was not selected properly the way the judge is supposed to be selected, and he's giving money, which is against all the judicial canons, to the Biden campaign. The charges were bogus charges, and the jury was biased from the very beginning.
That's the same thing my cousin.
Sounds like grounds for appeal.
My cousin Ray Ray said.
Pookie said the same thing when Pookie went to jail. Pookie said this is a Republican judge, Republican jury, but Pookie's ass is still in jail.
You know what I'm saying?
So I'm saying, this is what they say.
If that argument had come,
Hold on.
Which judge does not contribute a campaign?
If that argument had come from a layman, if that argument, we wouldn't accept it. We wouldn't be defending that. We wouldn't be saying the judge was wrong and the prosecutor wrong.
Even if we said it, nobody would care.
Wait. This is the reason everybody should watch Overtime.
That's right.
Early voting still going on in the runoff for 2 Harris County Appraisal District director seats. 3 new seats were created by the Texas legislature last year. These folks will have a say in the future over the hiring and firing of chief appraisers and the value of your home and property for the purposes of taxation. Polls are open today, Monday, and Tuesday, with Election Day Saturday, June 15th. Voter turnout is expected to be about 1%.
If that.
Gosh. All right, thanks to this week's panel, and thank you for joining us. The conversation continues on a national level next on Fox News Sunday with Shannon Bream, and we'll keep talking with What's Your Point Overtime, streaming live on fox26houston.com and on our Facebook page. From all of us here, have a safe and healthy week.